Hey kiddos, part 2. This is where I'm going to get you started on thinking about your science fair potential topic. So I have this site I've created. This is actually my high school site from last year, and I've made a couple changes to it. But it's all about how you can maybe potentially pick a research topic. So one of the first things you're going to want to figure out is what area of science you are potentially interested in. And then remember last time we also talked about feasibility. So how I feel one of the best places to start on finding a science topic is to start looking at research studies that have been done and then figure out what sorts of ideas you can get from that. So on this site, and I will post the link on our Edmodo page as well, I have actually down at the bottom several sites that you can visit to kind of give you ideas of recent research updates that have come out. So really what these sites do is they report like the latest breaking research in the field, and then some of them try to report it in like an interesting way. So probably the easiest site to use is LiveScience. LiveScience is for the general public, really. So the way they write, the way they do things, it's really for the layman. It's not really for a typical scientist. You can see ads pop up. However, it's also written in a very interesting way. So if this little ad would get out of the way, at the top there are categories. So there's like space, animals, health, and so you could start like poking around there and looking at categories. Or you can kind of just look at the site and start seeing, okay, what are some of these things that are interesting? And remember, you always want to keep in mind something that you could potentially study. So me, since I used to teach zoology, I always go to animals first because I absolutely love animals. And if I were doing a research topic, I would probably be doing something where I had an animal subject, although it would be an invertebrate rather than a vertebrate, because remember, there's rules about that. So I would sort of start looking, and I would be looking at an article that interested me, number one, and then number two, one to build upon. Also remember that it's very easy to work with invertebrates for science investigations, so something like a cricket or an ant or like a roly-poly. Those are easy to work with. So looking around here, okay, let's see what this one's about. So birds screech at avian funerals. And so really, I probably won't get to work with birds, but I might start thinking, okay, well, if birds are going to spot a fallen comrade and hold a screeching funeral, do other species do that? And so when you're reading this article, your main focus is going to be on question, and I have a really cool tool that's going to help you with this. Okay, so it is called Diigo. I actually have a Diigo account created for you, and I'm going to send your username and your password to you through Edmodo. Okay, but what Diigo allows me to do is I can highlight a passage, and I can sticky note stuff on the web, so it's really cool. It's like when you highlight an annotated document, Diigo allows you to do this to almost any article on the web. So let's say, typically what I would like you to do is when you're doing this as an assignment, you would highlight this part here. Okay, oops, sorry, highlight. Okay, and then I'm going to post a sticky note to it. I'm going to say, okay, if birds screech at a funeral, do other birds do this as well? Why are they screeching? Do other species communicate like this? Oops. Like this. And then I've set you up in a group, so it's Science Investigation 7. So you can actually just pull that down and then post, and then everybody in that group will actually be able to see your post-it note and your highlights. And so this will be a great way of looking at articles and figuring out some potential science questions that we could research. So I'm going to look a little further and see if I have any other questions. So how did they do it? It was a graduate student. They set feeding tables in a backyard near the school to attract the bluebirds. They're not very social. She video recorded the J's reactions. So I wonder how she recorded those reactions. Did she have a webcam set up? Because remember, we're always thinking about feasibility. Is this something I could potentially do? And then you can actually see the little sticky show off to the side. And you can reply to other people's sticky notes as well. So if one of you had written this post and wanted to reply to me, we could do that pretty easily. So when confronting a dead jay split on the ground, the bird stashed to a tree and began a series of loud screeching calls to attract other western scrub jays, which joined and added their voices to the choir. So I'm going to stop with this article so you potentially get the idea, but that's kind of how Diigo works. If I go back to our main page, there are several other sites as well. So Science Daily is probably my favorite. It updates very frequently, daily, as you can see. Again, it's also organized by topic, so you can start looking at an area that you think you find interesting. The difference here is while LiveScience was really written more for your common person, Science Daily is written more for researchers. It's still a summary of the research article itself, but it's not the actual article, so it's easier to get through. And you'll see what I mean when we're actually looking at some science articles later on in the year. So let's just say I'm interested in psychology. Same thing, I start looking for articles that not only look interesting, but also I think I could maybe feasibly accomplish. So I know I'll be working with robots this year, so I'm going to pick this, even though we're not going to be working with robots like this. So you guys get the idea. On this page too, I can use Diigo and highlight and sticky note. Same situation. So we'll talk about that more later, but I just wanted to give you guys an introduction to this today. So again, if you have any questions, post them on our Edmodo site underneath this, and I will try to reply to those today.